I added some sugar into my coffee, like extra sugar, more than I usually do. This is just liquid candy now. And it's delicious. I regret nothing. It's peppermint mocha candy. Welcome back. Today we're watching Battlestar Galactica Episode 3, Bastille Day. I did not read the description for this episode. I have been burned. Well, not burned, but far too many times I've read descriptions of episodes of shows that I'm familiar with, that I've seen before, but like when I read the description, I'm feeling like this is clearly a spoiler. Like this is clearly something you're not supposed to know before the episode starts. And so I will not be reading any episode descriptions of Battlestar Galactica, but I like reading the titles and just kind of thinking about, okay, hang on, Bastille Day. What is that? Is that some kind of holiday for our descendants of Cobalt? What's going on? I'm curious to see what this means. Is it an attempt to bring back some sort of normalcy for the crew? Are we going to take some time off? And from like a production standpoint, I'm wondering, is this the first filler episode? I feel like this episode might take a break from the driving, dense, terrifying danger. I could be way off about that, and maybe I am. But here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping this episode will focus on maybe 2 or 3 characters and maybe give us a little bit of a richer understanding of some of the culture of the descendants of Cobalt. Maybe Bastille is one of the lords of Cobalt. I don't know. I don't know what this Bastille Day is. Maybe it's just a day where everybody gets drunk and Colonel Ty has the best day of his life. It's his favorite day of the year. I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. So let's experience episode 3 of Battlestar Galactica Bastille Day for the very first time. All right, last time he was measuring how much booze he had left. So maybe he's just weaning himself off, like, I can only drink this much. I'm wondering if he's overdoing it today.
Ice. Pure water. Couple of lemons. We could make lemonade.
Yes, sir.
Callie likes drunk Ty.
Sounds like a lot of manpower. And where are they gonna come from?
Slave labor.
They are criminals and they've been sentenced to hard labor. And this is very hard labor.
I'm with him. That is not slave labor.
These men have been stuck in cramped cells for weeks now.
I bet they're miserable, yeah.
To get out.
These men are not slaves, and I will not have them treated as such.
No.
I actually don't agree with her this time. I've agreed with her a lot. I don't even see the connection between treating them as slaves. I don't think there's anything slave-related about this decision.
Hearings, which at least implies they may be ready for release.
Oh, that's interesting.
I would like to have a representative from Galactica.
How about D? Second class Petty Officer Duala.
I know who she is.
Do you have a ship's doctor aboard Galactica?
Major Cottle. Is there something wrong?
No. Nothing urgent.
Nothing I'm going to share with you.
Well, tell him that you want to see him.
Good.
Petty Officer Duala.
Thinking entirely of the mission.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say to the personal representative of the president.
Come on, Commander Adama. What about your son?
Decide for themselves which side they're on.
I didn't know we were picking sides.
I agree. Shouldn't we be a united front? The last remnants of humanity?
I haven't picked one yet.
I love Commander Adama. I don't like that he sees it as us versus them, even if they're often have opposing views.
Thousands of us are on the verge of dying from dehydration.
Including all of you, by the way.
Water. Any man who volunteers to help us during this emergency will earn freedom points, which can be applied toward earning his release.
Are we sure this won't lead to a riot? Well, I'm pretty sure. All right, who's going to be the first one? No? I thought for sure they would want to do something. This guy, oh, he might be dangerous.
We respectfully decline.
Oh, so he's in charge.
That's Tom Zarek.
Terrorist?
Wow. I don't think he's ready for parole just yet. I'm pretty freaking sure.
These people were marginalized, brutalized.
I'm from Sagittarian, and that man does not speak for all of us. He blew up a government building, and there's no excuse for that.
Captain.
I love that Billy and Dee are on different sides of this.
Where is everyone?
Boomer, you might not want to... Frickin' rats. Just find a hospital. Score some anti-radiation meds.
We're the children of humanity. That makes them our parents, in a sense.
But parents have to die. It's the only way children come into their own.
Yikes, Aaron. I love the Cylon thought process, psychology. It's fantastic.
You're clearly a man of principle. People are gonna start dying.
Including all of you.
It's time for your break.
How can you say that? Because it's the truth.
I kind of wanted to sit down and listen to them fight. Their first fight, come on.
Freedom is earned.
Well, I mean, a freedom fighter fights for freedom. What are they doing? This is like a clearly an orchestrated plan. Why? It's kind of foolish to start fighting them. Captain Apollo, I know you're a boss, but you cannot take on all of the prisoners. I mean, I know the good guys have to go down fighting, but he should have just said, all right, I surrender. Hey, Boxy. Forgot about him.
One of you has been coming in a little hot lately. Now, who is the speed demon, my prince?
Flat top, sir.
You got a need for speed, do ya? Or maybe you have a hot date with your right.
Whoa.
You come in too hot today, you may have to start using your left.
Colonel Ty's gonna reprimand her once again.
Where's your mummy?
Dead. Where's yours?
Wow.
You are right on the edge, Threes. Careful you don't fall off.
Speaking of falling off.
Whoa. I love that she's calling him out again. It's beautiful. I don't always know how to take Starbuck. Overall, I really like her. I would like to see past her exterior defense mechanisms at some point.
Where's my Cylon detector, Doctor?
It doesn't exist.
Well, there are a number of obstacles.
Cut the BS.
Yes, thank you.
You said you had a way of detecting human from Cylon. Do you or don't you?
No. Just be honest.
I don't.
What?
Yes.
I don't think that...
Yes. The fact that number 6 is mad about it makes me so happy.
He's going to find you out.
They're going to tear your head off and throw your body out of an airlock!
Wow.
Unfortunately, Doctor, you're the last man we have. So what's the game plan?
The truth is, there is one way.
Say it!
Commander, the truth is...
Nuclear war.
It's a nuclear...
What? No.
warhead.
Explain that logic.
They don't get along, Adama and Rosalind. They have their differences, but not when it comes to dealing with terrorists.
I thought you said you respected me.
That was before you resorted to violence and hostage-taking.
And it really is. That simple.
There's a certain logic to it, but I love that Commander Adama is glaring at him with an eye of skepticism.
We've got no idea who took those 6 G4 charges or who put that detonator in.
Don't worry.
Calm down, Boomer. He's just showing up right when he needs to this day.
Don't honestly think you've been fooling everyone, do you? When the ship was being decommissioned, we let you two get away with it. We're at war, this is a combat unit, and you're his superior officer. Put a stop to it.
I don't really know how I feel about it overall. Seeing as she is a Cylon, it's probably for the best. I don't like it, though.
The government is illegal and illegitimate.
Nope. False.
I demand the immediate resignation of Laura Rosalind. I demand free and open elections to choose a new leadership.
And it's kind of a waste of time, but it's not totally unreasonable. Laura Rosalind can just run, and she may very well be elected.
He's a criminal and a terrorist. People aren't going to give him credence.
Don't be so sure, Commander.
Oh, some will. I promise you that.
I assumed you were going to talk to him first.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Gotta have that hard line in there.
I watched President Adar offer him a full pardon if he'd apologize and give up violence as a means of political change. He refused. No deals.
I'll let you know what happens.
I respect that he stuck to his principles. I don't respect that he continues to use violence as a vehicle to affect change. That's never the right approach.
I am the best shot in or out of the cockpit.
She's right. For once. You get a clear shot at Zarek, you take it.
I don't even know how I drew this detail.
I told her.
I love this.
Sorry.
You don't know what tired is?
Right?
Don't mock me, little girl.
Trust me, everyone on the Galactica knows what tired is.
You'll be nice to me.
Leave her alone. I feel like he's just picking on Callie for absolutely no reason. And that makes me dislike him immensely.
Did you vote for her?
She was sworn in under the law.
The answer is no one. Is that democracy?
It's an emergency, and she was an elected official.
If we're not free, then we're no different than Cylons. They call you Apollo, a lord of Cobalt, a god. Can reconcile those two opposing forces, but a mortal has to pick one side or the other. Have you picked a side, Apollo?
It's interesting to me that they have him standing up for democracy and freedom. The principles he's standing up for aren't totally unreasonable, but his approach is abhorrent. And so it's fascinating. It's kind of interesting.
I'm a light sleeper.
I don't like this guy. Can you just kick him in the balls and be done with it?
You don't want elections. You don't want your freedom. You want a bloodbath.
Ooh.
Forgotten for 20 years.
Maybe he really wants
rots in
attention.
South. Now he's got a chance to go out in a blaze of glory.
Apollo's on to you, buddy.
You've been saying everything you're doing is for freedom. But the truth is, it's all about Tom Zarek and his personal death wish.
They're killing the hostages. Let's go.
Yes. Get in there. Good act break.
My ear off! You said they weren't animals. What do you call this?
Good job, Callie.
You made him a monster!
Tom, you twisted man in the brain.
All teams, sniper in position.
Take the shot.
He's gonna do it. Look at me!
Yes! Come on. Thank you, Apollo, my man.
Come on, Lee.
Don't make him a martyr.
How about it, Tom? You're gonna tell your men to help us get that water off the moon.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna get your elections.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's just incredibly bad timing.
You were right about democracy and consent of the people. I believe in those things.
How do I know your father will honor your word?
They're good people.
You don't.
Have a little faith in humanity, man. I'm sorry he's had bad experiences that corrupted his faith in humanity, but still.
All right.
Gotcha.
No, Starbuck, I don't want you to kill him. Don't make him a martyr. Thank you.
I don't believe this.
It's unacceptable.
It's done.
You've committed me to holding elections within the year.
You're serving out the remainder of President Adar's term.
Correct.
When that term is up in 7 months, the law says there's an election. If you're telling me we're throwing out the law, then I'm not a captain, you're not a commander.
And you're not a president.
And you're not the president.
Great speech, Apollo. Be pissy if you
He's
want,
your son.
Commander. He's right. You should be proud of him.
An election.
I am.
I guess you finally picked your side.
But it wasn't your side or the president's side. It was just a good, right side. Yeah, she's mad. And so she's like, it's time to drink, and I know who to go to.
Water.
Maybe not. Okay.
My flaws are personal. Yours are professional.
Excuse me? Disagree. They're both personal and professional. See, one affects the other.
He's lucky that's all I bit off.
Spicy. Wow. I love her.
That's my girl.
7 months from now, you'll have my vote.
Will she be here in 7 months? Is she going to tell him?
I have cancer.
I don't know what to say.
I understand. I fear that knowledge of my illness will erode hope.
You can count on me.
Ah, it just ended. Great episode. Wow, 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 wow.
Look at this.
On the morning of July 14th, the people of Paris seized weapons from the armory of the Invalides, forgive me for probably butchering that word, and marched in the direction of ancient royal fortress, the Bastille. After a bloody round of firing, the crowd broke into the Bastille and released a handful of prisoners held there. And yeah, if this wasn't an episode all about prison. Okay, so I'm glad, first of all, that the subject of this prison and all these prisoners came up again, because I just finished editing the miniseries part 2, and I remember that reference there, and I think it was the previously on that I saw there, but no matter, very, very just interesting to have that element as a part of this series. And so first of all, I do not at all think it was wrong to want to use the prisoners to transport the ice. I don't think that should be treated or considered the same thing as slave labor at all. I don't. Please, if you disagree or you feel differently, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear a difference of opinion. But that's like my gut response. It's like, yeah, that's actually the perfect one. I mean, you could just get volunteers from the 47 other thousand people that are there. But I mean, honestly, it really makes sense to use them. And I think they would be, honestly, I really do, despite what we saw in the episode, I agree with Commander Adama's rationale that they probably would be grateful to have something to do instead of just lying around trapped in a cell. I love the fact that the prisoners were on their way to parole hearings as well. So that's a very interesting element. I don't know if I agree with the concept of freedom points or not. That seems a little bit silly, but at some point you do have to evaluate which of the prisoners should be integrated into society. If we could have less people trapped on that ship, that it would probably just would be better for everyone as a whole. How can they contribute to society at large? I think that is a really wonderful thing, and it's free up some space in this prison transport ship because there's probably going to be other people that commit crimes during this. I don't know. At some point where we may have to address what law and order looks like on the whole of civilian life. I don't know if we'll actually get to experience that because obviously our primary focus is on the political and military side of this endeavor, but there's probably a whole other story of just the civilians trying to adapt and adjust to this life that would really be interesting to explore as well. I am curious. Commander Adama obviously was confronting Apollo in this episode, asking him to choose sides between essentially the military and the government. And I just find it kind of absurd. I know that there's obviously going to be different conflicts, difference of opinions between President and the commander of the fleet. But why in the world is he so set on seeing it as different sides? You can't be on my side and her side. You have to choose. And I think that is absurd. I think that's nonsense. I don't understand that at all. And again, if you have a better understanding of that, if you want to enrich and enlighten me, I would love to hear a different opinion there. But I'm just kind of like, I could maybe see that in a traditional government sense. But this is not traditional. This is an insane time. This is a period of crisis, a period where we really need to all get on the same page. We really should be a united front. And I can't comprehend sticking to such a rigid my side or theirs, my side or hers in this type and this time, this season of life. That's probably going to be life for a very long time to come. I really loved that Billy and Dee seem to have different of opinions on the conflict. And I didn't catch the name of her planet or whatever. Obviously, she's from the same planet of Zarek. And she felt very strongly that he was a terrorist, where Billy seemed to have a slightly different opinion of the situation. And the one thing in this episode I would have loved to do was actually just sit down and listen to their conflict and just dive into their difference of opinion and see how they interact and communicate. And obviously that's not the focus of the episode, especially now that we're into 45-minute seasons. Just to pause and I would love to at least like 2 or 3 minutes of just them talking would have really brought down the pacing of the episode, and it would have been a very different show that I'm sure would have been normal for Sci-Fi Channel at that time. I just would have loved to have experienced that. It would have been really interesting. To me, I'm invested in those two characters, so the more time we get to spend with them, the better for me. But there's still plenty of other characters and a lot more going on. So let's get into the meat of this episode, which really involves the freedom fighter, the terrorist, Tom Zarek. And what I genuinely loved is the principles he was fighting for were not terrible. I'm like with him. Yes, you know what? We should have an election, especially knowing that she is finishing out the previous president's term, which would be there's an election in 7 months anyway. It's almost a little alarming that Commander Adama and President Laura herself didn't seem on board to immediately have those elections in 7 months, because that to me is a no-brainer. Why in the world would you not follow through on the law? You don't get to make an executive decision, I'm just going to be president until I die, which admittedly could be any day. I don't know what her prognosis actually is as far as timetable, but yeah, it is a little alarming that the two most prominent leaders of the Battlestar Galactica and the remaining of the survivors of the human race weren't just on board with having a free and fair election, because at some point the people do need to decide if she's doing a good job and she continue in leadership. And of course, I think she is for the most part, and I'm grateful that the show is presenting different things in each episode, and Sometimes I've been on her side and sometimes I haven't. I like that. I really hope that it continues to be where, like, some days I'm on her side, some days I'm on Commander Adama's. And yes, I hear it that I'm talking about sides and choosing a side. Having a difference of opinion, though, does not mean you don't trust someone on the other side, especially in this situation. Just bringing it back to that conflict between Commander Adama and his son Apollo, and especially your son. Just because your son seems to be supporting the person on an opposing side of an argument doesn't mean you just toss him aside or don't trust him or don't open up to him. I think it's absurd. Commander Adama, get over yourself. That's how I feel. Okay. Anyway. Oh, I love this show so much. I really do. Obviously, Tom Zarek, the way he went about this was so screwed up. He had a good point. He was fighting for something that was really significant, really important. I think he should have just been able to negotiate, share his opinion, share his side. Maybe he would have been listened to. Maybe he wouldn't have, but he had the moral high ground. And yeah, but his methods clearly back when he got imprisoned and now abhorrent, absolutely horrible, absolutely terrible. And clearly he was absolutely wrong to do what he did. Even if his cause was just, it does not justify the means that he used to try to bring about reformation. And possibly Apollo was right. Maybe it was more about helping people remember his name and getting his name back out there more than anything else. I don't know if that's true or not, but it was fun and very interesting and engaging to watch Apollo confront him on that point and on that front. Apollo is one of the lords of Cobol, son of Zeus, so it seems like Greek mythology plays a large role in the religion of the lords of Cobol. And so I'm curious if the lords of Cobol is just a copy and paste of Greek mythology, or if it's slightly different or tweaked. Maybe we'll learn more about this throughout the show. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I kind of like that it's vague, but as a Christian and someone who has spent a large portion of my life in religion, I'm very fascinated by it. So I would love to dive deeper into that culture and that kind of thing. Mason and Callie, example of a prisoner who should not be paroled. And of all the people in this episode, if someone had to die, yes, let it be the guy who tried to rape Callie, the innocent dove of the show. She, and I say innocence, I almost said it earlier in the episode that she really kind of feels really innocent to me. And again, I don't know if that's because her character is innocent, but her persona seems very sweet and she comes across as very innocent. And the way she kind of laughs, when she observes Boomer and Tyrell, the way that she laughed, kind of knowing that Colonel Ty was drunk in the morning, and she just is her amusement of things, and it just makes her really likable. They had to pick her to, of course, be confronted with a true monster, a true criminal who could not keep his urges in check. I'm so glad she pulled a Tyson and bit that dude's ear off. He deserved it, and I'm glad he got shot, if anybody had to get shot and die in this episode. It was also really interesting, too, when Apollo was taking control of the situation. He really did an amazing job diffusing that conflict. And of course, Starbuck, she was sent in to rescue. She was performing a rescue operation, and she, when you're from a distance, it's hard to know what's going on. So I don't fault her for taking the shot. However, I have to imagine, and again, Starbuck is kind of a difficult character to get to know. We haven't had a lot of moments of vulnerability with her. We don't really know how she thinks, but she has that like tough exterior, and so I just feel like she probably was upset and mad that she didn't get to take the shot, that Apollo upstaged her and pulled the guy out of the way. Her pride was probably wounded or damaged. And I love the scene where she goes to drink with Colonel Ty, even though it was just water. It felt like she was trying to have a moment with him. She was trying to have a moment of vulnerability. And Colonel Ty amused me earlier in the episode because he kept walking in on things that maybe as the XO, maybe he does need to confront some of those things. But I'm a little mad at him right now because Starbuck was trying to have a moment of vulnerability, a moment of openness, and he shut her down. It annoys me. Who can she confide in? And obviously, Apollo would probably be her go-to person to confide in, but when she's annoyed with Apollo, who can she talk to? Dang it. All right. It's fine. We also got a little bit of a glimpse of just the briefest of glimpse of Hilo and Boomer 2, Cylon Boomer. It was great to see them and catch up with them. It was interesting too, as Aaron Doyle and number 6, the Cylons, were kind of keeping an eye on them and their progress. And Aaron said parents have to die. You know, talking about how the Cylons are the children of humanity. Parents have to die. It's the only way children can come into their own. Anytime we get a glimpse of the psychology and the way the Cylons think and view the world, it's always so interesting. And that absolutely fascinated me. And I hope we're going to continue to get those little peeks into their minds and their motivations. And I love that. I think it's one of the most captivating parts of the show. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about XO kind of saying Boomer and Crew Chief Tyrell need to end their relationship. Obviously, it is a kind of dicey area since she's his superior officer, yada, yada, yada. But, like, there's only so many people left. It's not like they're on the job in the rest of the world. Obviously, this was going on beforehand, and it probably was inappropriate, but who cares? We're about to be retired. Circumstances changed. And so I get under traditional circumstances, it would have been wrong for them to enter into a relationship. But I don't feel like the circumstances really warranted them not being in a relationship prior to the relationship. And I think it's silly to end a relationship that has been started, especially now. Although the relationship has led to Crew Chief Tyrell probably doing things he shouldn't do. And of course, Boomer is a Cylon until we can find a way to Pinocchio this girl. She is a Cylon, even if she doesn't know it. And so it's already putting him in a precarious situation. So maybe he's 100% right. Maybe the XO is right. Maybe Colonel Ty is correct and the relationship should end. I just don't want it to. So I'm over here. I'm going to justify it any way I can because that's what we humans do. The only other question I have, did Laura see a doctor in this episode? I kind of want to be a part. I want to be a part of that check-in. I want to see the medical update when she gets it. And so if that happened, they hid it from us. So I feel like it was a dropped plot point, or just kind of, it was in there to just remind us that that's going on so that it's not completely out of the blue when she talks with Captain Apollo later. I'm glad she confided in him and let somebody know. I'm glad that plot line is continuing, but I felt like we should have seen the doctor visit. Maybe it was a deleted scene or something. Or maybe we'll see it in a future episode. I don't know. But yeah, overall, this is another great episode of Battlestar Galactica. I want to thank you so much for watching with me, and I really appreciate you. Please let me know your thoughts on this episode, and we'll talk about it in the next episode if you have any questions or have any insights or disagreements with my stances or viewpoints. That's one of the things I love about this show, is I feel like you could have a different viewpoint for various things that happen. And I personally think that that's fun. I believe reasonable minds can differ, and having a difference of opinion doesn't mean that we're mad at each other or we should fight. Thank you for watching. Please check out this video, and big thanks to my patrons. Like this and subscribe. Watch the full length with me over on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.